Look at you. The calm before every apocalypse they thought they could control. They wanted a villain, didn't they? They poked the quiet one. They laughed at your restraint. They mistook discipline for weakness, silence for submission. And now you're writing their obituaries in real time, line by line, without even lifting a weapon. See, they don't realize it yet, but you already buried them. In relevance, in presence, in power. Every breath you take now rewrites their story. Every move you make audits their existence. They thought they could narrate your downfall, but the plot twisted. And suddenly, you became the author. You didn't start out to destroy anyone. You started out to survive. But survival does strange things to people, doesn't it? It sharpens mercy into precision. It turns forgiveness into a scalpel. It polishes pain until it cuts. And by the time they noticed, the light in your eyes wasn't innocence anymore. It was illumination. They wanted a villain because they needed a story where they weren't the problem. They needed someone to blame for their mediocrity, someone to project their rot onto. So they pointed fingers. They whispered lies. They weaponized your name like it was free ammunition. But you didn't react. Oh no, you evolved. You became still. You let them write their fairy tale of control until you became the plot twist they could never predict. And when the mask finally fell, when the last nerve burned and the last illusion died, what crawled out of you wasn't vengeance. It was clarity. The kind of clarity that terrifies the world because it cannot be bought, bribed, or broken. You are not angry anymore. You are surgical. You are deliberate. You are the slow, quiet ending that comes for those who confuse kindness with cowardice. Now look at them, running crisis meetings in their own heads, trying to decode your silence like it's Morse code from hell. You don't have to expose them. Their own fear does it for you. You don't have to chase revenge. Your existence is evidence enough that karma got impatient and wore your skin instead. You became their punishment by simply refusing to die, by standing up, breathing and smiling after everything designed to erase you. And the irony? They still don't get it. They think you're dangerous because you've changed. But you didn't change. You integrated. You fused the light they loved with the dark they feared until there was no difference. Saint and psychopath, angel and executioner. One entity, perfected. They used to pray for your forgiveness. Now they pray you forget them. Because when you remember, things happen. Every truth you expose becomes an obituary for another lie. Every boundary you set becomes a gravestone for manipulation. Every time you walk away, someone's entire ego collapses in the distance. They wanted a villain. But villains have motives. You have momentum. You're not playing chess anymore. You are the board, and every piece moves because you allow it. Do you know what real power looks like? It's not revenge. It's detachment. It's standing in the ruins they built for your burial, lighting a cigarette and whispering, "You should have known better." You don't roar anymore. You hum, you vibrate, you emit frequencies only truth can tolerate. That's why they can't stay in the same room for too long. Your presence reminds them of what they tried to bury. You became living proof that pressure doesn't destroy the diamond. It teaches it how to cut. Now they scramble to rewrite history, to make sense of the monster they manufactured. But they can't, because your timeline no longer follows theirs. They're still playing episodes. You're broadcasting in real time. They said you were too cold, too calculating, too much good. Because too much is exactly what it takes to melt through the illusions they worship. And here's the paradox that'll haunt them forever. You didn't want revenge, you just wanted peace. But peace, once disturbed, can be apocalyptic. And that's what they awakened. Not your anger, but your equilibrium. The version of you that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't need to prove. The version that simply ends things by existing. You are not punishing them. You're fulfilling the equation. You are the natural consequence of falsehood meeting truth. And in that collision, only one side survives. Spoiler alert. It's not the one still pretending. They called you heartless, but they don't understand. To feel everything is to appear like you feel nothing. You've outgrown empathy that bleeds for those who drain it dry. You've stopped trying to be understood in languages that only liars speak. So now you write their endings with silence. You attend their funerals without moving an inch. And when the dust settles, when the noise dies, when the smoke clears, you're still there, smiling, composed, unbothered. Because what they called evil was just the moment you stopped apologizing for your power. They wanted a villain, and they got one, but not the kind they expected. Not one that burns cities, one that burns illusions, not one that destroys people, one that destroys their masks, not one that kills hope, one that kills the lie that they ever had control. You became the nightmare of every manipulator, someone who remembers, someone who forgives, but never reopens the door, someone who no longer hides their storm behind politeness. They wanted a villain? Congratulations, they summoned a mirror. And now every time they see you, they watch their own decay. Every glance, every whisper, every shiver of guilt in the silence is the same message echoing through their bones. You shouldn't have woken what was sleeping, because you were never their villain, you were their consequence. And consequences don't negotiate. And oh, how poetic it is, how their own craving for drama scripted their demise. They begged the universe for a villain to blame, and when it arrived, it wore your face. The same face they once mocked for dreaming too loud, the same eyes they rolled at when you spoke of purpose. Now those eyes look back at them like a divine executioner, holding every truth they tried to bury. You didn't storm their castle. You evaporated the illusion that it ever stood. Brick by brick, you dismantled their fantasy with composure. You never shouted. You didn't need to. Power this pure doesn't raise its voice. It raises reality. They used to gossip about your failures like it was sport. Now they whisper about your name like it's a forbidden spell. They can't mention you without trembling, because somewhere deep inside, they know. They built you. They fed you lies and called it love. They drained you dry and called it loyalty. They discarded you and called it discipline. But what they didn't expect was the resurrection clause in your pain. They forgot that suffering, when mastered, becomes strategy. And you turned agony into architecture. You didn't return for vengeance. You returned as the storm that made vengeance irrelevant. Your presence now is proof of cosmic accounting, that the energy they wasted trying to kill your spirit came back with interest, and it's collecting. Look at them now, the architects of your humiliation now building excuses instead of empires. The spectators of your pain now studying your resilience like it's forbidden technology. They can't copy it. They can't code it. Because the secret ingredient was always authenticity, and that can't be forged. They can't understand how you walk so quietly, while their reputations fall apart so loudly. They can't explain how you glow in shadows that used to choke you. They keep looking for the switch, the source, the spell. But the truth is, there isn't one. You are the spell, the embodiment of balance, restored. Once they mistook your empathy for weakness, until you weaponized it. They thought your silence was submission, until it became strategy. They thought your healing would make you soft, until it made you surgical. Now you're everything they fear and secretly wish they could become: untouchable, unrushed, unavailable for manipulation. You don't play defense anymore because the game itself no longer exists on your level. You're in the director's chair, watching their panic, like a scene you've already rehearsed. And what truly tortures them isn't your success, it's your peace. Because peace is the most unnerving sound in a world addicted to noise. They can't compete with someone who no longer seeks validation. They can't wound someone who no longer bleeds for attention. They can't destroy someone who already transcended the concept of loss. That's your real revenge. Evolution. You outgrew their reach, their language, their need to define you. You became the thing they swore didn't exist, a soul that survived the fire and learned how to breathe smoke. They say, look at them now, so cold, so distant, so dark. But they don't understand that darkness isn't evil, it's insulation. You built it to protect what's sacred, what's left, what's real. And here's the twisted beauty. They still try to provoke you. They throw small stones, hoping you'll explode, hoping you'll validate the lie that you're dangerous. But you don't bite anymore. You don't even blink. Because you know something they never will. Monsters don't need to roar to terrify. Sometimes they just need to exist. You're not angry. You're amused. Every time they gossip, it's free advertisement. Every time they plot, it's unpaid devotion. Every time they mimic your moves, they lose a little more of themselves. You've become a paradox they can't decode. A sinner who prays, a saint who sins. A mind that sees both the matrix and the mirror. You're both the calm and the chaos, both the curse and the cure. And that duality, that's power. Because one-dimensional beings can't fight someone who operates in every dimension. They wanted a villain. They got evolution incarnate. And the world can't decide whether to fear you, follow you, or worship you. They study your moves like scripture, hoping to learn how to resurrect themselves, but they can't. Because you didn't just rise, you transformed. You burned your old self to light the path forward. Now they see you and mistake it for evil. But it's just clarity, stripped of compassion. You've seen too much to pretend anymore. You've bled too deeply to fear anymore. You've loved too honestly to kneel anymore. And now everything they built on illusion is crumbling under the weight of your truth. Every system that fed on your silence is starving. Every parasite that drained your light is dying in the dark. You don't even have to do anything. Your stillness is a siren. Your breath is an omen. Your existence is justice. Because once they labeled you the villain, they gave you freedom. Freedom to act without explanation. Freedom to rise without permission. Freedom to exist without apology. And that's the part that kills them. You found liberation in the label they designed to cage you. You made the insult into identity. You made the exile into empire. So now when they whisper your name, it's no longer pity. It's prophecy. You became the cautionary tale they tell each other in trembling voices. Don't betray someone who builds in silence. They wanted a villain. You became their reckoning, not through rage, not through revenge, but through revelation. You exposed what they truly are, and in doing so, you became untouchable. Because power isn't about control anymore. It's about clarity, and clarity, my friend, is the sharpest weapon in existence. Now you stand where they can't reach, half myth, half memory, all consequence. The air shifts when you enter a room, not because you're loud, but because you're real. They wanted a villain. They created a legend, and the legend doesn't need to scream. It just watches, as every lie it outlived slowly writes its own obituary, one truth at a time. You see, what they never understood is that villains aren't born. They're engineered, manufactured by pressure, assembled from betrayal, baptized in disbelief. They spent years chiseling at your kindness, trying to shape it into compliance. And now they stand in front of the masterpiece they accidentally sculpted, horrified to realize the statue looks back at them. Because when they stripped you of everything, they thought they were taking your power. But they were only taking away your distractions. What was left wasn't a victim. It was pure design. A consciousness sharpened to a blade. They called you obsessive, but obsession is just focus without apology. They called you cruel, but cruelty is just compassion with a backbone. They called you heartless. But your heart didn't disappear. It just changed departments. It stopped beating for the unworthy. Now you operate like nature does. Silent, precise, inevitable. There's no hatred left, only gravity. You don't chase, you pull. You don't argue, you demonstrate. You don't destroy, you reveal. And that revelation is fatal to them. Because the moment truth enters the room, lies suffocate. The moment strength stops performing humility, weakness trembles. You became a biological reminder that everything fake eventually self-destructs. They wanted a villain? Fine. But villains don't beg for fairness. Villains write the ending. Villains become the justice system of the unseen. You turned every scar into architecture, each wound a blueprint for domination. Your pain didn't make you bitter. It made you bulletproof. You stopped defending yourself and started defining yourself. And when they tried to control that, they realized they were trying to catch smoke. Now you haunt them in ways logic can't quantify. They see your face in every success they can't replicate. They hear your voice in the silence between their applause. They feel your shadow every time they fake their smile for a camera. You became the ghost of consequences, not because you're gone, but because you're everywhere. Your power is ambient now. You don't need revenge. Your energy does it for you. Every time they pretend you never existed, reality corrects them. Every time they try to move on, something reminds them. The reason they're falling apart is because they tried to break someone who doesn't die. And they can't even hate you properly. Hate requires focus. You dissolved that too. You stole their narrative, inverted their spell, and fed it back to them through silence. You became poetry written in consequence. The irony? They'll never tell this story right. They'll say you snapped. They'll say you changed. But no, you remembered. You remembered who you were before they convinced you to forget. And remembering, in a world addicted to pretending, looks like evil. You don't even have to say a word anymore. Your aura speaks in dialects the guilty can't stand to hear. You've become a mirror that doesn't lie. They see themselves, and they call it darkness. But that's not your shadow. It's their reflection. You are no longer part of their dimension. You operate in a frequency above apology and below illusion. They can't measure it. They can't monetize it. It's beyond economics. It's elemental. And deep down, they know it. They can feel that cosmic rebalancing every time your name crosses their timeline. It's why they look away so quickly. It's why their laughter sounds nervous now. They sense the weight of their own unacknowledged debt. And your existence is the collector. But you don't collect in cash. You collect in silence, in dignity, in presence that outlasts the memory of the wound. You walk through their world like a prophecy fulfilled. The same prophecy they dismissed when you were bleeding on the floor. And now, they watch you rise with a mixture of horror and awe. Because they can't undo what they triggered. You are not their villain. You are their reflection in high definition. Too raw, too unfiltered, too honest to fit their version of the world. They'll say you're different now. Good. You should be. You're the upgraded model of what pain tried to destroy. You are suffering's final draft, rewritten by wisdom, proofread by rage, published by divine timing. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't even hate them. Hate would imply you still care. You're past that now, the way an eagle is past the worms it used to hunt. Your altitude is your answer. They think your silence is arrogance. It's not. It's mourning. You're grieving the version of yourself that thought they were ever worth your softness. But grief has turned to growth now. And growth in the eyes of those who never evolved looks like cruelty. They wanted a villain. They got the prototype for survival. They wanted to see you crumble. Instead, they watched you metamorphose. And what terrifies them most isn't what you'll do next. It's that you don't need to do anything at all. Your existence is the event. Your breath is the broadcast. Your calm is the catastrophe. They're praying now. Not for forgiveness, but for forgetfulness. Because every day you live unbothered is another day their actions echo back louder. They wanted to break you. Instead, they built their own ending. Because villains don't die, darling. They evolve until history mistakes them for gods. And the day will come, oh, it's coming, when they realize that the worst thing they ever did was give you a reason to stop caring. Because the second you stopped caring, you stopped losing. They wanted a villain. You became a force of nature, uncontrolled, unowned, unforgivingly awake. And that, my beautiful monster, is the real horror story, because the villain they summoned is the last one this world will ever forget. And now, here you stand, calm, collected, untouchable. The storm they summoned, now dressed in silence. They look at you and still can't believe it's the same soul they tried to break. Because you don't look angry anymore. You look finished. That's what truly terrifies them. Not your rage, your resolution. You don't want revenge. You want nothing. And nothing is invincible. They wanted a villain, and you delivered a reckoning. No fire, no screaming, no spectacle, just the quiet, devastating truth that you survived. And in surviving, you rewrote the rules. Now their whispers sound like prayers, their pride tastes like rust, and your name feels like Judgment Day. So let them talk, let them tremble, let them pretend they don't see you when everything they touch still shakes in your aftermath. Because villains destroy stories, but legends end them. And that's exactly what you did. The walls in those rooms are sweating now. They've muted the screens, drawn the blinds, and whispered words they haven't used since the last time history rewrote itself. Contain it, one of them says. Buy it, says another. But deep down, they know. You can't purchase chaos. What they call market instability, you call rebirth. What they call volatility, you call truth. You walked through their equations like a ghost through a locked door, and suddenly, every projection failed. Their economy ran on obedience, on predictability, on human sleepwalking, and you woke up. You were never supposed to wake up. That was the real crime. Every empire depends on one thing, the illusion that its walls are real, that money is meaning, that titles are thrones. But when someone like you comes along, someone who looks into the abyss and laughs, it all starts to tremble. Because laughter is the sound of ownership returning to the soul. You broke the algorithm not by coding, but by feeling. You tapped into that ancient frequency buried beneath bills and brands, the one that makes entire systems short-circuit. You proved what they feared most, that reality bends to the ungoverned heart. Now, entire teams are analyzing your impact metrics. They're trying to measure the immeasurable, influence born from insanity, charisma mixed with conviction, pain sculpted into prophecy. They can't categorize it. You're not a brand. You're a biological anomaly, a sentient rebellion. And the funniest part? You didn't even mean to do it. You just got tired of pretending. That's all it takes. One soul, done with pretending, to cause an economic meltdown. Because the economy wasn't just dollars. It was faith in the lie. You stopped believing, and the structure fell apart. Now you're trending in rooms that don't use Wi-Fi. Your name's being whispered between people who pretend not to believe in mystics. You're an equation they can't factor out, a ghost asset with infinite volatility. They're pulling charts, calling analysts, checking data. But what they're really trying to price is the cost of awakening. They can't admit it publicly, but here's the truth. You're their newest crisis model, the unquantifiable variable, the human anomaly event. You're the one who taught the market that certainty is a myth, and that's why you're dangerous, not because you're evil, but because you're awake. Not because you're violent, but because you're free. You've become a living paradox, angel and threat, saint and contagion, medicine and weapon. They can't decide whether to worship you or erase you, so they try both at once. They'll invite you into their circles, smiling with trembling hands, hoping proximity to your fire keeps them relevant. But behind the smiles, terror. Because what if you're not done? What if this was just the first break? See, when economies crash, it's not the numbers that fall first. It's the belief systems. And you, my beautifully deranged friend, didn't just shatter a belief. You made proof of its fragility. You became the mirror they avoid. You remind them that their control was never real, that every contract they signed was written in fear, not power. You walked into their temple of profit and made faith look like fraud. And now the scent of collapse is in the air. It's not smoke, it's awakening. Every time you breathe, a stock drops. Every time you smile, a facade cracks. Every time you speak, a man who thought he was untouchable starts sweating through his $10,000 suit. You've weaponized existence. You made being yourself the most expensive act in the world. Because now, every lie costs them more to maintain. Every silence costs them relevance. Every truth you tell is a market-wide audit on their morality. They don't fear your words. They fear your effect. Your inflation for the illusion, deflation for their ego, recession for every false god they ever prayed to. You're not in their economy anymore. You're the meteor that resets it. And the whispers, oh, they've spread. Governments, corporations, influencers with perfect smiles and shaking hands. They're all talking about you, but never directly. You've become Voldemort with a verified account. You're the name they can't say without their system crashing. You proved that one unbought mind can bankrupt an empire of manipulation, that one person refusing to play the game can make the house start to burn. And now, they're calling you dangerous, not because you broke the law, but because you broke the pattern. So go on. Let them hold their emergency meetings. Let them whisper containment while pretending not to tremble. Because you've already infected the air. The market doesn't need you to act again. It's already rewritten its code in your shadow. They can't arrest the weather. They can't sue a storm. And that's exactly what you've become. A storm they prayed would never have a face. You are volatility incarnate, the walking proof that pain can profit, the one who turned trauma into currency, silence into stock, madness into monopoly. They built a system to own everything, but they forgot the one thing they couldn't buy: a soul that remembers its power. And now that you've remembered, they're not just losing money, they're losing the illusion of control. So smile. They're watching the end of their empire, and it's dressed like you. A grin, a ghost, a glitch that learned to laugh. Whatever you just did, darling, keep doing it. Because the economy wasn't the only thing that broke. Reality just got a new shareholder. They're calling it the distortion event. That's what they labeled it in their encrypted files. 3 words to summarize something they'll never understand. You, somewhere, in a windowless room glowing blue from too many screens, analysts are comparing timelines. They're asking each other when the graphs stopped making sense, when the numbers began to breathe, when logic stopped being loyal. They don't realize it yet, but that moment was the moment you stopped apologizing. You didn't break the economy, you unmasked it. You pulled the plug on the theater of stability. You made the audience see that all those shining markets were just confidence tricks. Bubbles inflated by fear, traded like belief. And when you stopped believing, the market collapsed. Because confidence, you see, was never a number. It was a vibration, and your vibration no longer matched submission. Now the world feels unstable, because for the first time, you're stable. They're sitting in rooms with satellite feeds and simulation data, running behavioral analysis on your patterns. They're trying to predict your next move, like you're a threat vector, a walking market correction. But here's the truth. You don't have a next move. You are the move. You don't act in cause and effect. You act in revelation. They built their power on sequence, predictability, obedience, dependence. But you became an anomaly in the algorithm, an unbuyable frequency, a human glitch with a divine signal. You can almost hear it, can't you? The silence between their panic, the sound of something ancient waking up. Because you didn't just crash their economy. You resurrected something older than money, older than fear, value, real value. The kind that can't be printed or traded, the kind that burns in the bones. You became a new exchange rate for meaning. Now the currency is courage, the stock price is integrity, and every breath you take is inflation for the fake. That's why they can't stand you. Because you didn't just escape the game. You flipped the scoreboard. Somewhere, a billionaire is staring at your profile picture in silence, realizing that his empire is made of zeros, and your existence has one thing his never will: substance. You've become the nightmare of those who worship appearances, because you've made truth fashionable again. You made authenticity profitable. You made madness sound like logic. And they can't brand that. They can't sell that. They can't patent the frequency of a soul that stopped pretending to be small. You broke their economy because you stopped spending your energy on validation. You stopped loaning your light to their shadows. You repossessed your power. And they call that market instability. You didn't break the system. You reminded it that it was broken. Now they're studying you like a contagion, whispering terms like psychosocial disruption, untraceable influence, emergent phenomenon. But all it really means is this: you made people remember themselves. You cracked open the vault of collective amnesia and poured truth into the bloodstream of the world. Every person who sees you, everyone who hears your story, feels something they can't name: hunger, defiance, memory. And that feeling is the real currency. That's the inflation they can't control. The more you exist, the more others remember what it feels like to be alive. And that's the one thing every empire fears: not rebellion, but resurrection. Because rebellion can be crushed, resurrection spreads. You see, they know how to handle enemies. They don't know how to handle miracles. And that's what you are now. Not a threat, but a phenomenon. You're not destroying systems. You're making them obsolete. You're not fighting their gods. You're replacing them with awareness. You are the silent merger between light and lunacy, half prophet, half pyromaniac. You speak in riddles because truth isn't meant to be digested. It's meant to detonate. You've become an emotional EMP, shutting down hearts that run on simulation. They'll call you dangerous. They'll call you unstable. They'll call you anti-establishment. But behind every label there's trembling, because the deeper truth terrifies them. You broke free, and now you're making freedom look contagious. Somewhere right now, a senator is losing sleep because his speechwriter can't find language strong enough to silence what you've started. Somewhere, a CIO is deleting emails, praying your name never crosses his audit trail. Somewhere, an influencer is rehearsing your tone in the mirror, trying to mimic the energy that can't be duplicated. They want to capture it. They want to own it, but they can't, because the moment they touch it, it changes them. You've become radioactive truth. Beautiful, lethal, untamed. You're not their competitor. You're their expiration date. And you can feel it, can't you? That pulse under your skin, that quiet knowing. The world is recalibrating around you. Every system that profited from silence is now paying interest on your volume. Every soul that once bowed now feels the faint vibration of uprising beneath their feet. You didn't just break something in the economy. You rebooted value itself. And the irony, they can't rebuild without you. Because you're the blueprint now. You're the new denominator. You're the proof that chaos is the purest form of creation. So let them meet. Let them whisper. Let them panic. Because the truth doesn't need marketing. It doesn't need permission. It just needs someone insane enough to deliver it. And that someone is you. You didn't ask to be a symbol, but you became one anyway. Not of rebellion, not of rage, but of awakening. You are the audit that the universe conducts when it's tired of pretending balance exists. And the world will never recover from your existence. Because whatever you just did wasn't an accident. It was inevitable. The moment you stopped needing their system, you became the system they can't survive without. And that's not power. That's prophecy fulfilled. They thought the market could recover. They thought this was just a blip, a digital tremor, a public stunt, a viral ripple that would fade by Monday's open. But by Monday morning, the graphs didn't move. The numbers wouldn't align. Every equation that once obeyed collapsed into error. Because what you broke wasn't a system. It was their illusion of control. They forgot that economies are made of people, and people are made of stories. You didn't crash a currency. You corrupted their narrative. That's why they can't fix it. You didn't just alter behavior. You rewired belief. And belief, my friend, is the most expensive asset on Earth. You shifted the axis of attention, and attention is the real economy. You redirected billions of eyes, rewired millions of minds, and that subtle shift, That's the earthquake that never stops shaking. They'll say it was chaos. They'll say it was coincidence, but deep down, the think tanks and handlers know it was you. The one anomaly no data could predict. The one human variable their models couldn't contain. Because you don't trade in logic. You trade in energy. See, energy is the currency of reality. And you've become its black market. You turned pain into profit. You turned scars into stocks. You turned silence into thunder. And the truth is, that terrifies them. Because everything they built runs on borrowed energy. On convincing others they're powerless. On leasing belief from those too tired to dream. But you took your power back. You became energy sovereign. Now they're scrambling. They're calling consultants, drafting new influence management protocols. They're building entire departments to study you. Behavioral economists, narrative analysts, PR surgeons, all asking the same question. How do we stop something that doesn't want anything? Because that's the paradox. You're untouchable not because you're rich, but because you're unbought. You can't be bribed because your currency isn't material. It's meaning. You found the one thing they never could. Freedom without permission. They called you reckless. They called you unstable. But you were simply unpredictable. And unpredictability is the one resource that breaks monopolies. That's what this really is. Not a financial crash, but a spiritual correction. You are the interest rate on deception, the karmic inflation of truth, the unregistered asset of chaos that made balance sheets start to bleed. They spent centuries engineering compliance. They built economies to feed off fear, shame, and validation. Invisible commodities traded every second. And you pulled the plug. You defunded their addiction. Now they call you dangerous because your existence exposes the scam. You proved that everything they sell, identity, safety, worth, was already inside you. That's why you broke the economy, because you stopped buying what they were selling. And people saw it. Oh, they saw it. They saw someone walk away from the table and become the house. They saw someone smile while everything important collapsed. And they felt it too. That pulse, that liberation, that deep, terrible knowing I could do it too. That's when the contagion began. Not in the stock exchange, in the psyche. Because rebellion spreads through realization, and you, my dear anomaly, became the patient zero of awakening. They'll never admit it out loud, but you've triggered something irreversible. Every rule book looks old now. Every leader looks artificial. Every currency feels counterfeit. They're losing faith, and when faith falls, numbers follow. So now they hide in conference rooms with names like Crisis Response Unit, sipping coffee that tastes like fear. Every PowerPoint slide begins with the same question: how do we restore stability? But they can't, because stability was their drug, and you introduced withdrawal. You broke the supply chain of delusion. You detoxed humanity one act of defiance at a time. And here's the part they'll never understand. You didn't do it to destroy them. You did it because you remembered yourself. And that's what makes you lethal. Because a soul that remembers is a weapon no empire can predict. You're the child of contradiction, divine chaos wearing human skin. You speak in frequencies, not words. You move like instinct disguised as accident. And when you act, systems shudder. That's why every institution feels haunted. You became the ghost in their code, the untraceable signal that keeps their devices flickering, their numbers corrupting, their confidence cracking. And still, they'll call you names. Madman, disruptor, unstable element. But tell me, isn't it funny how all their insults sound like compliments to someone who stopped kneeling? You're not mad, you're free, you're not disruptive, you're awake, you're not unstable, you're untamed. They just can't calculate the math of a miracle. Because miracles don't follow market trends. They don't rise or fall. They erase the graph entirely. And that's what you are now. A living erasure of everything fake. Every number that was never real. Every god that was never holy. Every rule that was never yours to obey. They can keep their meetings. They can keep their fear. Because you've already moved past the currency of control. You trade in impact. And impact doesn't depreciate. You broke something, yes, but not in the way they think. You broke the spell. And no economy on Earth can function when the dreamers stop dreaming the same lie. Now they stare at their screens like priests staring at dead idols, praying for movement, praying for meaning. But the movement's in you now, the meaning's in you now. You are the crash. You are the recovery. You are the proof that some things can't be contained, calculated, or controlled. They'll call it collapse. But history? History will call it the correction. Because what you broke wasn't the economy. It was the illusion that anyone but you ever owned your power. And now the silence feels different, doesn't it? The kind that follows after everything false finally stops pretending. They'll call it instability, but deep down they know. It's clarity. The markets will reopen. The screens will flicker again. They'll try to rebuild, rebrand, rename the ashes. But it won't work. Because what you broke can't be repaired, only replaced. And you've already become the replacement. You are the new exchange, the unregulated current running through consciousness itself. They'll spend decades trying to price what you did. But you can't price awakening. You can't contain a human who remembers their infinite. Let them hold their emergency meetings. Let them whisper about control while their hands shake from fear they won't admit. You already won, because when systems crash, truth survives, and you are the living evidence that freedom was the richest currency all along. So smile. They'll rebuild their empires. You'll rebuild reality. And every time their economy trembles again, it'll remember the moment one quiet soul looked the world in the eye and broke it wide open.